The movie begins with a gang of villains beating up a group of people. It's clear that they're extremely ruthless and don't care about anyone because they know nobody can stand against them. We then move to a maximum security prison where an inmate named Park is serving a life sentence for all the crimes he committed. Park used to be part of a gang himself. While sitting in his cell, he hears the sound of a fight breaking out nearby, so he gets up to see what's happening. He finds that a new prisoner named Young has just arrived and is violently attacking everyone around him without hesitation. When Park asks the other inmates why they're just standing there and not stopping him, they tell him that the newcomer is in prison because he killed a man simply for annoying him, and none of them want to risk becoming his next victim. But Park doesn't care about that. Since he's the boss of the prison, he approaches Young and tells him to stop fighting, but Young has no idea who he's dealing with. Instead, he insults Park, thinking he'll back down just like the others. However, Park shows him he's different, striking Young in the face. Even then, Young proves fearless, refusing to stop insulting Park. Park is about to beat him up, but suddenly the prison chief intervenes and orders Park to come to his office. There, the chief hands Park a newspaper and asks him to read it. Park discovers the shocking headline: "The body of a very powerful gang leader has been found, brutally murdered with his organs removed." Reading this infuriates Park because the slain gang leader was his close friend. Since the prison chief cares about Park, he grants him a 2-day leave to attend the funeral. The next day, Park goes to the memorial service and mourns his friend with deep sorrow, recalling their memories together. He remembers the time his friend visited him in prison and discovered his love for sewing. Because of that, his friend gave him his mother's gloves as a gift. He also learned that his mother used to love sewing too, and she always wore those gloves to protect her hands from injury. It was clear that they truly cared about each other, which is why Park decides to take revenge and never let his friend's death go unpunished. Park goes to one of his late friend's old associates, a man named Doa, and asks for help, but Doa refuses, explaining that his wife is about to give birth to a daughter, and he doesn't want to get involved in any trouble that could prevent him from raising her. Still, when he sees how deeply Park is affected by his friend's death, he gives him a file, telling him that Detective Young had been there recently asking if he knew anything about the case. Meanwhile, Detective Young is on duty with a police convoy, transporting prisoners to another facility. When Park calls her from his personal phone, she's surprised and jokes, asking if he escaped. It's clear from their conversation that their relationship is more friendly and personal than that of a detective and an ordinary prisoner. Park tells her he's on leave because of his friend's death and that he wants to talk to her about it. She agrees, telling him to wait in front of her workplace until she finishes, and she'll meet him there. Park agrees and hangs up. While the convoy is on the road, one of the bus tires suddenly bursts. Something feels off. It's clear this has been deliberately planned to help someone escape. Moments later, the fuel tank runs empty, even though it had just been filled before departure. That confirms their suspicion that someone sabotaged them. Sensing danger, the officer in charge informs Detective Young, and they realize they must stop to fix the bus. Young quickly contacts the police station, asking for reinforcements to protect them during repairs. They are forced to reroute to the nearest gas station, where they can solve the problem. Once there, they meet another police transport team. This second group is escorting a female prisoner named Jessica. Jessica is a famous thief, known for her agility, intelligence, and incredible escape skills. Despite her talents, the police managed to capture her during her last heist. With both teams together, they succeed in fixing the bus and continue their journey. But the delay had been calculated. It was all part of a plan. Soon, the gang appears in an armored truck, ramming into the police vehicles and overturning them on the road. After the crash, Everyone loses consciousness. Unsure of what's happening, one of the prisoners eventually regains his senses, steals the handcuff keys, frees himself, and throws the keys to the others so they can escape. They try to run, but more gang vehicles arrive, and the attackers keep beating them down. Finally, they reach a man named Sang, the real target of the entire operation. Everything was orchestrated to free him. Jung also regains consciousness and attempts to contact the police department, trying to report that the prisoner transport bus has been ambushed and crashed on the road. But the signal is very weak, and the call doesn't go through. One of the gang members tries to stab Young before he can report anything. But Detective Young, who has just regained consciousness, arrives at the very last moment and saves him. She fights one of the gang members long enough for Young to send the message, but she's already exhausted, and her body is too weak from the crash. Sadly, one of the attackers stabs her in the stomach during the struggle. Young tries to defend her, grabbing the gang member and fighting back, attempting to pull off his mask. But Young himself is still badly weakened from the accident. The gang overpowers him, beating him severely and eventually ramming him with a vehicle. The brutal hit knocks Young unconscious, leaving him on the brink of death. At that moment, he recalls the past, the real reason he was imprisoned. We learn that Jung was once a police officer, but he ended up in prison because, during a pursuit, he beat a criminal so badly that the man died in his custody. Jung, along with the other injured, is rushed to the hospital. Park goes there to check on Detective Young. He feels frustrated and angry because every time he gets close to uncovering the truth, something pulls him away. He decides he can no longer rely on anyone else. He'll go to the gang's hideout himself to find answers. Indeed, Park storms the hideout, defeats several members, and captures one of them. He interrogates the man about their leader, who reveals that the boss's name is Sang. Now we finally understand why the gang wanted to free Sang from among the prisoners. Park presses further, asking if Sang had anything to do with his friend's murder in order to take control of the market and eliminate rival gangs. But the captive insists they didn't kill Park's friend. In fact, their gang had joined forces with his to become stronger together. This leaves Park uncertain. Sang might not be responsible for his friend's death, but he isn't convinced either. Meanwhile, at the police department, investigators are reviewing which prisoners were recaptured after the ambush and which are still at large. The ones who remain on the run are Jessica, Sang, and another unidentified accomplice. The suspicion grows that Sang's gang orchestrated the entire attack to free their leader, but nothing is confirmed yet. The investigation continues. Later, Doa visits the police chief and hands him a file, offering to help, but only if the chief tells him everything. Since Doa was once head of the organized crime division, and because the chief trusts his intelligence, he agrees and explains the situation. They learn that when Sang was captured, he confessed that he wasn't actually the main leader. There is another boss, far more powerful, wealthy, and influential than him, a man whose true reach and authority remain unknown. Sang kept talking about the boss and revealed everything he knew. But the very next day, he was assassinated in prison. They tried to silence him for good. Doa begins to suspect that someone inside the police is collaborating with the powerful crime lord Sang had spoken of. The reason is simple. When Sang gave his testimony, the only ones present were investigators. That means one of them must have tipped off the boss that Sang had betrayed him. Doa warns the police chief to be careful and watch the people around him, because one of them is a traitor. Seeing Doa's determination to help solve the case and bring down the bigger syndicate, the chief decides to reinstate him as a detective in the organized crime division. As soon as Doa returns to duty, he makes a bold decision. He will form a criminal network of their own to fight back against the gangs outside. The first person he chooses to recruit is the former detective Jung, because of his combat skills and past experience in major crime cases. The second recruit is, of course, Park. His deep knowledge of gangs and his sheer physical toughness, like a human tank, make him invaluable. Together, the three of them start planning their mission. DOA briefs them on the fugitives who are still missing. The first and most dangerous is Song, a ruthless killer serving a life sentence. He murders without mercy, targeting even the elderly and young women. One of his victims was his own wife, whom he killed 11 years ago. The second is Kim ***, fast, powerful, and an expert escape artist. The third, and most important, is Sang himself, the gang leader. There is strong suspicion that he was the mastermind behind the entire prison break. Park also believes Sang is connected to his friend's death and insists he'll be the one to capture him personally. But Jung doesn't like this idea. The two of them have clashed from the very beginning and can't stand each other. Doa, knowing Park could easily lose his temper and beat Jung, steps in to calm things down and keep the team together. The fourth fugitive is Jessica, the most famous among them. A skilled thief and escape artist, she can outwit anyone and slip away within seconds, no matter how good the pursuer is. Park says he knows Jessica, and her boyfriend too, who happens to be a con man. They realize they can track her down through him, so the team sets out together to find the con man. At that very moment, he's inside a restaurant, running his scams and threatening the owner. He tells the restaurant owner that Park will destroy her life if she doesn't obey him. He's using Park's name because back in the day, Park was a notorious gangster, feared everywhere for his power and brutality. To make people obey him, the con man uses Park's name in his scams. He orders his men to clear everyone out of the restaurant so he can take the woman's money in peace. And indeed, everyone leaves, except for one man. They insult him for not going out and are about to beat him up. But it turns out the man who stayed behind is the real Park. When the con man sees him, he panics and quickly orders his henchmen to clean the place and pay compensation to the woman for the customers who left. Suddenly, the con man tries to escape, but Park catches him and beats him down. When he regains consciousness, Park demands to know where Jessica is. Terrified of being beaten again, the con man gives her up. Being a coward, he betrays her without hesitation. When Jessica tries to run, she fails and is forced to surrender. They return to the base, where Jung arrives with alarming news. Zhang has escaped, along with the serial killer Kim, infamous for his mastery of disguise and his ability to evade the police for 3 years. Jessica says she knows Kim well because she worked with him before, but Park doubts her and suspects she's trying to trick them. Still, with her persistence, Commander Doa decides to let her join the team and listen to her plan. Jessica explains Kim's escape methods and mindset, emphasizing that his only weakness is women. She advises them to change their strategy. Park refuses to trust her and sees her words as deliberate misdirection. Jessica then tries to seduce him with her beauty, but although Park doesn't waver, the rest of the team is swayed and agree to involve her. They force Jessica to wear a tracking device so they can catch her if she tries to flee. She resists at first, but eventually agrees on the condition that if she helps them succeed, she'll be freed from prison. The group starts working together. Jung finds a file containing all the women who had supported Kim. Among them is Jessica. She tries to cover up her name, but Doa notices. After a heated discussion, she admits that the only way to find Kim is through love, since he always spent the most time with women he cared about. She suggests focusing on the last woman he was close to. She also reveals the type of houses he prefers to stay in. Despite their doubts, they are forced to listen to her, and their search begins. Soon, they uncover leads that Jessica insists will take them straight to Kim. They go to Jessica with the most important girl on the list, Sumi, and reveal to her that Kim, the man she thought was her lover, is actually a dangerous serial killer who deceived more than 15 girls like her. Sumi is shocked and begins to doubt him. When she returns to him, she's uneasy. Kim realizes the police are hunting him and, as usual, tries to escape, but in the end, he gets caught. At that moment, Sumi comes to check on him, but he betrays her, taking her hostage with a knife and threatening to kill her if anyone comes near. She then discovers he never loved her at all. Kim threatens the team with Sumi, claiming he has nothing to lose. But Sumi seizes the chance, sprays something into his eyes, and Park leaps in, tackling him to the ground and cuffing him. Just as they celebrate catching him, Detective Jung arrives in his car and snatches Kim, wanting to claim the glory for himself. Soon after, Commander Do collapses from his worsening condition, and the team rushes him to the hospital. The next day, he wakes to find Jessica at his side. The commander asks about Park, but Jung suspects that Park has abandoned them and betrayed the team. In truth, Park has gone to confront a gang member suspected of killing his friend, hoping to find out where the boss is. But the man denies it, saying even the gang members don't know the boss's face. Before he can reveal more, the rest of the gang arrives, forcing him to flee. Park grows furious and fights some of them, then tries to pursue the man again. But the team calls him back, and he has to let it go. That's when Park reveals that the one who killed his friend was none other than Myung's crime boss. They learn that capturing Sang is the key to solving the case. So Jong and Jessica head to the station where Kim is being held with Detective Jong. There, they warn Jong that if he interferes again, they'll take him out, leaving Jong too scared to get involved. They begin interrogating Kim about Sang, but Kim insists he doesn't know his whereabouts, saying the last time he saw him was by chance at a subway station. Meanwhile, Sang and the serial killer Song carry out brutal murders of police officers in the streets, their crimes dominating the news. Sumi calls the team, terrified after helping them capture Kim. She fears his associates will kill her, breaking down in tears. The team reassures her that she's safe and leaves, but her fears prove true. Song had been waiting for them to leave so he could kill her. At that same time, Jong reviews surveillance footage from the crime scene and discovers that the serial killer who murdered the officers last night was Song. Using his experience as a former detective, Jong realizes Song wasn't alone that night. Song was with him. Later that night, Song is at a nightclub with his gang, while Song continues his grisly killing spree. The team tracks Song's location and moves in. On the way up, Jong spots Sang and chases him, leaving Jessica to confront Song. She arrives too late. Song has already killed one victim and is torturing another girl. Jessica fails to break the door, but Park arrives just in time, storms in, beats Song, and rescues the girl, with Jessica rushing her to the hospital. After a long chase, Jong successfully captures Sang and brings him to headquarters. Park, consumed with rage, wants to kill him to avenge his friend, but the team struggles to hold him back. At the last moment, Sang confesses that the big boss was behind everything and is the true reason Park's friend died. Jessica persuades Park to let him talk so they can uncover more. Sang begins spilling the gang's secrets. The boss is a shadowy figure, running the world's largest drug manufacturing and trafficking network, while also controlling a vast organ trade. He reveals the boss abducts people off the streets to test new, devastating drugs on them. They receive the file from the envelope and discover it contains crucial evidence pointing to the boss. Just as Park is about to open it, the special police storm in and surround them. The chief of police humiliates them, declaring their mission over, and from a tattoo on one of the men's necks, they realize the chief is working with the boss. In the end, the police chief captures them, ties them up, and sets the headquarters on fire, leaving them trapped as smoke fills the building. Park manages to save the team from the flames, and Commander Do returns to help capture the police chief's men. But the chief himself escapes with the file. Afterward, Detective Jung finally decides to cooperate with the team, providing valuable information about the gang. Despite the overwhelming odds, they resolve to face the big boss. Park enlists an old friend who disguises himself as a delivery worker, sneaks into the headquarters, eliminates the guards, and clears the way for the team. At the same time, the boss betrays the police chief, disposing of him once he's no longer useful. The team storms the gang's main headquarters, facing waves of heavily armed men. They split into two groups, one to battle the gang, the other to hunt down the big boss. The fights rage fiercely. Park, though gravely wounded by the gang, pushes through with sheer will, taking them down. Finally, he confronts the big boss in a brutal showdown and defeats him. The team emerges victorious, having completed their mission. Later, the police arrive to arrest the remaining gang members, and the film ends with the team's hard-won triumph.